in a world where loyal companions await, one place stands as their beacon of hope. The Pet Resource Center of Hillsborough County, where you can adopt your very own superhero. Adopt a dog. Find your sidekick and unlock the power of unconditional love. Suit up, show up, and adopt today. For more information, visit hcfl.gov/pets.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the tonight's meeting, October 14th, Tuesday, of the Charter Review Board. I'm delighted that you all could be here in the audience. I hope there's many people out there viewing us live, and we have a wonderful group here tonight, and we got a number of great people in the audience. So delighted to be here. I'd like to begin, since we always need God's help, with prayerful thoughts from our chaplain. So would you please lead us in a prayer?
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
And before we pray, Mr. Chairman, in light of all the events last night and yesterday in Israel and the Middle East and the signing and all of the different historic things that took place, it seems fitting to say Hag Sameach, Simchat Torah to our Jewish friends, which was the day yesterday. It's a celebration day and celebrating the cycle of reading the Word of God throughout the year. And so here in the U.S., it's tonight, it ends, but yesterday there when the hostages came out. And so in light of that, I'd like to go before our Lord in prayer. Father, we thank you for this night. We thank you for your presence here with us. We thank you for the agreement that was signed yesterday, the big sign on this stage, all those letters that spelled out the word peace. And of course, it was declared and proclaimed and signed and agreed to and all good things. In fact, you say in your word, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. So we are to pursue peace and to be like the Prince of Peace, and all our truths are from your word. But there are many, many more. We're also reminded that peace is not the absence of conflict, but it's the presence of you in our hearts and our lives. And in both the Old Testament and the New Testament, it says over and over, there's a refrain, they will say peace, peace, when there is no peace. And so, Lord, we pray for peace. We pray for a real peace, a lasting peace. We pray that you continue to do a mighty work in our world, in our land, in our county, and in this room tonight. And so specifically for tonight, Lord, we pray that you grant us wisdom and understanding as we seek to make our county even better than it is now. Let us be good stewards, using wisely the time that you've entrusted to us. We pray all of this in the name of the King of the Kings, Lord of Lords, and indeed, the Prince of Peace. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Rick. Would you all please stand up and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You do such a good job, Rick. You'll probably be the chaplain everywhere you go. So. All right, we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll open with public comments. I've got several that asked to be on the record, so I'm going to see if they are here. There's Jamar Johnson. Jamar Johnson. Yes, sir. Hi. Welcome. If you give us your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to make your remarks. Thank you, sir.
My name is Jamar Johnson. My address is 111 West Tennessee Ave. I want to address the topic of the African American Sea as discussed by Mr. White. As a member of the local African American community, I understand the significance of our voice being heard. However, the discussion that we should be having should be concerning the African American community, not the African American seat. What the African American community needs is for their voice to be heard. This is accomplished when the people of the community vote for a county commissioner who they collectively view as someone who meets their best interest. The truth is, you don't need an African American commissioner to represent the African American community. You could have an Asian, Spanish, white. The ethnicity of the commissioner isn't a priority. Our priority and our focus should be that whoever is in that commissioner seat and representing the African American community is a proper representative for the voice of their community. If we went to 9 single districts, the minority community would have the greatest opportunity for the voice to be heard. What's necessary is that in those areas, the county commissioner is someone who represents the voice of the people. Much like Commissioner Mayo said in the last meeting, what matters is the commissioner getting out in their district and being among the people and doing their job. Then the minority community's voice can be properly heard, which is why I'm in full support of moving to 9 single-member districts With 9 single-member districts, the county would be split up to the point where you could actually have a district that is potentially majority African American or majority Hispanic. And having a district that is majority minority ensures that the minority voice and vote is heard, because the members of those communities will be able to vote for a commissioner who they view represents them best. I disagree with claims made that 9 single-member districts decreases voting power, because residents now only vote for 1 commissioner instead of 2. You only need 1 vote when that vote is for a commissioner who represents your community, instead of representing your community plus many others. 9 single-member districts will bring power to the people. It will enable people to have a greater voice in local government, because there will be more commissioners who represent the people. Whereas there are currently only 4 county commissioners, there will now be 9 individual county commissioners, each representing different branches of the community. Single-member districts ensure that each resident gets the best representation, equal representation, and accountability for the representative. Countywide commissioners magnify the power of majority populations and minimize the voices of smaller districts. This is about equal representation, and 9 single-member districts will accomplish just that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Those are very thoughtful remarks. Much appreciated. Denise Youngblood, are you here? Denise Youngblood. Okay. We have 3 other people that have asked to make comments. That includes Commissioner Cameron Cepeda. Thank you for being here. I'll give you the option. You could speak now on it, or reserve your remarks till we begin the discussion of the BOCC district composition. So would you 3 prefer to delay your remarks till we get to that agenda item? Is that a yes? Okay, fine. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, that will close public comment. Next item of business is the approval of the minutes from our September 9th meeting. They have been distributed. Is there any changes or amendments anyone wishes to make? Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion.
Motion to approve the September 9th, 2025 minutes.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Holt. Is there a second? We have a second by Kim Droege. Any discussion of the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you all very much. First item of business is one that's been around for a while, and I'm glad I was getting scared to death, Mr. Roche, when I didn't see you here exactly at the start of the meeting, but I knew you'd make it. I knew you'd make it. So would you, you brought this up, so would you carry this? Would you give everybody a review? I know you were almost ready last month, but there was an item that you wanted adjusted. So if you would, please carry the item. And our goal is to adopt a resolution. Am I correct?
Yeah, so we ended up having a resolution to do a resolution that we passed. And it had all the things that I had wanted in it, and there was also the request that it include a statement as to the benefits. So when I got the resolution back, it did not have that last item, and that's why I hung on to it until this month.
That's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, so I believe it's just a simple statement of everything that should be included in there based on our resolution. So I don't know that we really need to discuss it much further, because I think it's been discussed over and over. So unless there's other comment, I think.
Well, the resolution itself is in our handout material.
Yeah.
So maybe you could steer everybody to it and just do
Yeah, it's after, let's see, it's a 2-page document.
Mr. Chair?
Actually, it's on a 3rd page.
It kind of looks like a fill in the
It's actually the
blanks.
last 3 pages of the
Yeah.
packet.
All right.
Can I just make a statement?
Mary Helen, yes, please.
Yes, I did add the statement about the benefits to the resolution. It's in section 4.
Okay.
And I renumbered the section, so what you have in your backup should be the one with the addition of which, that was asked for.
Okay. Well, I think it might be appropriate. Would you just read the items
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, see if there's any questions from board members? And if there isn't, then we can move for adoption.
Yeah, so Section 1, the Board of County Commissioners should consider estimating the financial impact for a period of 2 years, as well as the life of the tax or other referenda. Section 2, the Board of County Commissioners should consider including an estimation of the increase in the cost per household. Section 3, the Board of County Commissioners should consider eliminating the 75-word limit as the state has preempted the placement of the financial impact statement from appearing on the ballot. Section 4, the Board of County Commissioners should consider adding the anticipated benefits to the citizens of Hillsborough County. And Section 5, the Board of County Commissioners should consider placing the financial impact statement in a prominent link on the first page of the county's website.
All right, thank you. Is there any questions or anyone would like to direct at Ms. Jarosh about those 5 items? And Mary Helen, would you explain so just we're on the record, how does a resolution work and what's going to be the effect of it and so on? Yeah.
Historically, doing a resolution to suggest a possible change to consider has gone from the Charter Review Board to the Board of County Commissioners, and at other times from the Board of County Commissioners to the Charter Review Board. So it gives them what your thoughts are, and then it's up to them to make whatever changes they feel is necessary.
Okay. And if they don't change anything, they'll have to deal with Ms. Jarosh.
Yes, they will. Yes,
Yeah.
they will.
So that's pretty powerful. Yeah. Okay, so to adopt the resolution, I assume that we need a motion to adopt the resolution and a second. And I think we will want to do a voice vote for everyone here. So am I correct on the handling procedure? Or we can do it?
You gonna
I'd
make
like to
your
defer
motion?
to Ms. Jarosh to make the motion, and I'm more than happy to second it.
I would make a motion that we pass the resolution.
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
I make a motion that we pass the financial impact statement resolution as read.
And Julie Holt seconds.
Okay. Any discussion of what we're about to do? Yes, please, Ms. Snively.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question on Section 1. Just wanted to understand the rationale of why you chose a period of 2 years as opposed to a different time frame.
So currently, the county charter has a period of 2 years. I left it at that because my intent was to have the life of the tax as well. So I think it gives you
Short and
1
long-term.
year, depending on when it starts. For example, the CIT, I believe, started in December. So a full, depending if it's a fiscal year or a calendar year, it just made it simple just to leave it as it existed, but add on, we also wanted extended over the life of the tax. So
So simplicity and consistency and short-term versus
Yeah.
long-term.
yeah.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Good question. Any other thoughts? Because we have a motion and a second. Any other? I will call for the vote. Would the clerk please go through the roll call?
Wood,
Aye.
Carlton? No. Collins?
Absent.
Droege?
Yes?
Hall? Yes. Holt?
Yes.
Jarosh?
Yes.
Joden? Yes. Coons?
Yes.
Latham?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Snively?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Motion carried 12-1. Ms.
Excellent.
Carlton voted no.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the work that went into it. And I understand what you're trying to do, so thank you for the effort. Yeah. All right. Next item of business is to begin a discussion of a continuation, I guess we'd almost call it, since we've had a couple of meetings on this, especially an exhaustive one last time that went to full 2 hours, a discussion of the BOCC district composition. I'd like to begin it with some remarks, because if I didn't share this with you, you all say, why didn't you tell us about this? So I'm going to let Beth Cardenas talk to you about once a year the Hillsborough delegation gets together, which will be next week, and I just want you to know what is on the table for them. So if you would, Ms. Cardenas.
Certainly. So the meeting is scheduled for October 21st at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the T. Pepin Hospitality Center. And on the agenda for the meeting, there is an item, and I'll just read it. It's local bill presentation number 2, a bill relating to Hillsborough County Charter Reform by Rep. Michael Owen, and it revises the county charter to expand the Board of County Commissioners to 9 single-member districts, update procedures for redistricting, appointments, and charter amendments, and provides for a voter referendum. The agenda was originally posted reading 11 single-member districts, but I'm told it's been corrected and will be 9.
All right. So somebody joked we should just take a motion tonight and dismiss our meeting, but I don't think we should, you know. I mean, we were tasked with doing the right thing. Mr. Owen may have an opinion as to what the right thing is, but this group may have a different opinion. So we're going to proceed with our work, but I wanted you to know that hanging over us is the possibility that there'll be legislation that could override anything we do. Any discussion of that? Any thoughts on that? Anybody want to say anything? Otherwise, yes, Mr.
Chair,
White.
I strongly disagree with that principle. We are a home rule charter county, and I believe the spirit of the citizens of Hillsborough County will stand with the county commission and the charter review board and not allow the legislative body to put something on our charter when we have a review process that has worked since the very beginning. And so I believe we should continue on and conduct this study and review. If we deem necessary in the end to put something on the ballot, I think we'll be within our order and right to do so and not be swayed by what might possibly come out of the legislative delegation meeting. Well, we don't know where it would end in the full body, let alone whether or not the governor would even sign something.
Thank you. Appreciate the thoughts. Ms. Droege?
I would just like some understanding from Mary Helen. They would not be putting anything on the charter, Mr. White. They would be putting it on the ballot, like every other change to the charter. Even a change that we might recommend as a board, it would have to go to the ballot, it would have to go to the voters. So and my understanding from Mary Helen, and I'm not going to speak for you, you can speak, is when it came to the ballot of the Charter Review Board versus the legislative delegation, and in this case, it would be the actual legislature.
Correct.
What would be the outcome of that?
Well, if neither one passes, we remain status quo. If both pass, then, and I've just been giving this some thought for the last half hour, basically, but our charter can't be inconsistent with general law. So I believe that whatever the legislature does, and I haven't read the bill yet, would supersede what we did. My concern would be voter confusion, because you'd have 2 on there, and but we can do voter education. I mean, there's things around that.
Would that actually be allowed? That's really my question. Would that actually be allowed to have 2 different recommendations, one from the CRB and one from the legislature on the same ballot?
I don't know of anything that would prohibit having 2 referenda. It's just, what do you do if they both pass?
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Holt?
Again, with our attorney, I guess the difference is that this bill that may be adopted next week also includes something that we are not involved in, which means redistricting, appointments, other charter amendments that we may or may not be considering. And the only thing that we really have consistently is that there's been a lot of conversation here about 9 single-member districts and that there would be a voter referendum, but this bill really does a lot more.
Correct.
But none of us have seen the proposal, is that correct?
I have not seen the actual language, so I can, I will definitely do the review. My understanding is that it's both, they're going to make the school board districts and the county commission districts align and stagger the districts so that you have a certain number on every ballot of school board and county commissioners. And also, since it's a local bill, and that's my understanding, most of the time, it will pass through and be put on the ballot, and I think that's probably the case here. Whether or not the voters approve it, we don't know that anymore. Then we would know if the voters approved a proposal from this board.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts to share on that? Mr. Roche?
Yeah, I would just say the legislature meets, I believe, until the first week in March, and our work will be done in February. So I believe if we were to pass a resolution calling for a 9 single-member district, that they could probably amend it and strip that part out so that there wasn't that confusion. If we did something less, probably not. If we did something different, I mean, but just wanted to throw that in there.
Mr. Taylor?
You know me, I love process, and just for everyone, just, they'll have the delegation meeting, and just it passing out of the delegation, it just triggers the legislative process. It'll get filed as a bill, go through the House, it'll get referenced to numerous committees. The Senate will take it up in tranches at the very end of session. So point being, that's the very, very, very start of a long, windy legislative process. So just it passing out of the delegation next week doesn't guarantee it'll get into the end zone. But just so we know, as we deliberate today and the next month, they too have a long way to go in terms of the legislative process.
Ms. Snively, did you wish to speak? Then Mr. White. Ms. Snively?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I tend to agree with our colleagues here, Mr. White, who brought up the point that we have a separate job to do here, separately from other legislative bodies, and I think we should move forward with what our work entails. And if it happens with the legislature and that process, then it may happen, but I think the task at hand for us is to deliberate and make a recommendation for a resolution based on our work here on this board.
I think Mr. White, did you wish to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to add, I think it's a ghost. I think the citizens of Hillsborough County is about to be tricked by the legislative delegation, and we need to be mindful of that. This body, the Charter Review Board, is something that the voters put in place. And I think what's going on is there's some sort of hanky-panky, wanky, whatever, ghost activities, because they haven't done anything. All I've heard is what if, and this Charter Review Board is in session until February. And I think we need to be very careful and do not stop conducting the business of the review that the charter calls for, what the citizens of Hillsborough County has called for. Don't be hooked, wink, and bamboozled, if you will, related to what's going on wherever. We need to stay focused and conduct the review, as I said earlier, of the charter of Hillsborough County.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Mrs. Droege?
So we've kind of, the only thing I want to interject now, cautionary note, is that we've sort of, everybody's focused now on, we focus on 9 single-member districts. I would like to remind everybody that in my mind, at least, there are 4 alternatives to be considered. The first is the status quo. We do nothing. The second is 7 single-member districts. The third is 9 districts, mix, single, and countywide, and the last is single-member district. So that, if we're going to discuss, I'd like to make sure that we're discussing all 4 alternatives.
Ms. Snively?
Sure, let's go ahead and get to that discussion part, and I think that it requires a motion to do that. So if I make a motion, then we can open it up for further discussion and potentially amend the motion based on the deliberation. So my motion would be to make a recommendation for a resolution which includes 9 single-member districts for Hillsborough County.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for 9 single-member districts. What I was hoping to do was to review everything we've learned and get the public comment, and then take up that motion. Would you be willing to?
With all due respect, I believe we can still do that. This is just part of parliamentary process and opening it up. We can have a lot of discussion about that particular motion and pros and cons and all the different choices and options that Ms. Droege just mentioned. And so then if we need to amend it after deliberating and listening to all of the commentary and discussion, then we can certainly amend it as needed.
Okay, so for the record, we have a motion, Mrs. Snively, and a second by Mr. Roche. Am I correct? And I'm still looking for comments. Ms. Holt?
I have a question again for, since I don't know what this bill is going to look like and what all procedures. if you move to a different, if you're not the status quo anymore, if you move to something different, and let's say you add, so let's assume we add, what does that do with term limits that's been put in place?
That would probably be addressed in the drafting of it. I've seen it drafted that, everybody that's serving a term would finish their term out. That's just something a detail that we would have to look into to make sure that, to set the term limits. Do you start all over again with term limits? But those are decisions that we would have to make.
We, the Charter Review
Yes.
Board, and that would be also true of whatever bill is run through the legislature, that they would also have to address
Correct.
redistricting, term limits,
Correct.
everything.
Sure.
Yes.
So it's all on the table.
Yes.
Yep.
Can I ask you if you know, have you received any public records requests from anyone in the legislature that would include the things that this Charter Review Board has discussed, such as demographics, anything of that sort?
I have not.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Taylor?
Question on probably to Ms. Snively, since you made the motion. Would you be amenable to start with the discussion of adding 2, so going to 9, start there so we can kind of flush out the merits of that, and then from there, kind of going through the different iterations, whether it's 9 single or a hybrid?
I would defer that to the chair as to which direction he would want to lead that discussion, but I'm amenable to that.
I would have preferred to vote on the count, the 9, and then go from there, yeah.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I would have preferred to vote for the 9. The question is, will there be 9 commissioners? And if that passes, if that gets the 10 votes, then we'll drill down into the composition. Yeah.
Interesting, okay. Well, that's a different way of
Yeah,
viewing it. That's,
go ahead, Mr. Taylor. Is that what yours?
Well, now I have a process question. For just discussion purposes, we don't have to have a motion to do that. I understand why we need the motion, for order and all that, but in terms of discussion.
we can deliberate on anything.
Right.
Regarding.
And so that was kind of my thought. Again, I defer to the chair of kind of flushing out. And again, I think we all kind of know where a lot of us are in terms of, adding to, but then, what does that makeup look like, before we kind of get in the formal, all right, let's make a motion to do X, Y, and Z. But either way, my preference would be to first discuss adding 2 seats, and then from there,
Adding 2 seats, meaning
going from
having a 9
7 to 9.
without discussing the composition.
Correct. Discussing the merits of that, and then,
But the motion on the floor is 9 single-member districts.
Yes, but I'll reiterate that the reason I made that motion is because of parliamentary procedure allowing us to open it up to discussion for all of the different options that are available. I'm not suggesting we necessarily vote for the 9-member district at this juncture. I'm saying we're opening up for discussion, and as chair, you would lead that discussion as to how it's at your leisure to discuss it in what order you'd like to discuss it in until we can determine what the final motion would be, as opposed to taking several different votes for this or that.
Yeah.
We're just discussing it to see what is the best vote, what is the motion that we can all agree on or that we can get some consensus around, and then take a vote.
Okay. Did you want to say something, Mr. Coons? No?
Only that I too think that it seems like it would be better to separate the 2 items. Are we going to do 9 or 7 or 11 or whatever? And if we decide on 9, then we can come back and break it apart. But
Okay.
history shows that when we have a big item with lots of different moving parts, we all just express opinions and we don't nail down. It seems like it's time to nail down 9.
Okay. Mr. White?
I'm over here. Mr. Chairman, thank you for your motion and opening up the discussion. I've been doing a little bit of little search related to the history of the Charter Review Board, and I would like to pass out, Mr. Chairman, a copy of the County Commissioner resolution that was passed on December the 18th, 2014, 13, Resolution R13-187. And this is the only time in the history of the Charter Review Board and the County Commission that the Board of County Commissioners asked the Charter Review Board to look at the structure of the County Commission. And so I want the board, the Charter Review Board, duly mentioned, to look at the last time this came before the Charter Review Board and what the County Commissioners of Hillsborough County asked of the Charter Review Board. A majority of the commissioners, the sitting commissioners today, has asked the Charter Review Board to take a look at the structure of the board. And so, read the resolution. This was their prospect, their proposal several years ago, and I really think we could bring this forward and consider it today, along with the possibility of 9, the possibility of 4 and 5, what's best for the community. And so that's the only living document, Mary Helen, that I'm aware of that exists that the county commissioners sent to the Charter Review Board. In past meetings, Mr. Chairman, I've asked several commissioners, hey, can you guys give us a resolution if you want something as a body? And they have failed to do that. And so if you look at our history, Hillsborough County history, this is the only resolution that is alive that's on the books in Hillsborough County. And so I'm not sure if the Charter Review Board members was aware of this resolution, so I want, Mr. Chairman, for the board to look at and consider it.
Thank you. And what is the history? It went before the Charter Review Board and was not passed.
Yeah, the Charter Review Board did not, at the time, and it's been discussed in this board, it was because of the cost of expanding the board, but that was 2013. The cost was the reason I believe that the board voted, the Charter Review Board voted it down.
Remember, I was chairing it, so I have some firsthand knowledge.
Yeah, that was, to me, Mr. Chairman.
There was a number of factors, yeah.
To me, the cost was the key factor. If you look at all the news reports from the Times and all the papers, and the Florida Senator, like I said, they cited the cost was the overall discussion that came out of that meeting.
Yeah.
But that was years ago, and as you heard, all the commissioners in our previous meetings have called for an expansion of the board, and they saying, hey, now is the time to do it, in spite of, regardless of what it might cost. The citizens need this for fair representation in Hillsborough County.
Mr. Chair.
And by the way, Julian Holt, congratulations on being Hispanic Woman of the Year in Hillsborough County.
That's cool, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. White. Ms. Hall?
I would just like to make a point of order. We do have special guests who have requested to speak. I would just like to put before the board that it's probably appropriate for them to speak before we get deeper into this discussion.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd hope to do a review, not only hear from these, but review of what we've learned last couple of meetings, so we could put everything, get fresh and get all in agreement. That's what we did here. So if that's okay, we'll begin with the 4 people that I know of that wish to speak. Is that okay with this group? Yes. Yeah. Let me call Mr. Levinson forward. Scott? He has some thoughts on this subject. And again, the timer will be running 3 minutes. Thank you, sir.
No, I understand.
Would you give us your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Scott Levinson, and I live at 10230 Pink Palmata Court. No idea what Palmata is.
Yeah, I was wondering.
No idea.
I thought it was I thought it was Palmetto.
And and Riverview 33578. And good evening, Mr. Chair, and good evening, board. For those of you I know, it's good to see you again. Those of you I don't, I hope to meet you. Nice to see you. I stand before you. I have notes here. I will start off by saying I am a very dyslexic person, so I cannot read a speech. So if I wander a little bit, forgive me. I hold this, I think, as a pacifier. So, but I am a lifelong resident of Hillsborough County. 60 years I have been here. In those 60 years, my adult life, I spent volunteering in this county, helping the children and their families, 95%, I would say, inner city, underprivileged kids, and I proudly did that and volunteered for 30 years. Along with that, one day I decided I was going to run for county commissioner. I don't know why. I did. And before I ran for the position, I researched it, and I researched it, and I read, and I asked questions. I met with other commissioners because I wanted to know what I was getting into before I got into the position. And that is where my issue lies right now. And this is not a knock on any one commissioner, not a knock on any commissioner. This is anyone that does a job. Running for office is something we are not forced to do. It is something that we choose to do. And when that decision was made, the job should have been known. The scope of the job should have been understood. To then get into office and say it's too much, I question that. And I question why we're saying that. We all watch the news. We all watch TV. I'm looking for a timer, but I don't see
30 seconds.
one up
30
there.
seconds, Mr. Levinson.
Okay. In short, I believe we should stay with where we're at with the 7. I see no reason to go further. If you decide to go further and go with this 9, I do not feel you should eliminate countywide. One representative for one person does not work. It will not work. And I've heard commissioners say, we all get along, we can work it out. I don't believe that can happen. I believe we will all be fighting for the pie. And my last final statement to you is, if you go to 9, are you going to then pad the budget? Or because these 9 commissioners are now required to do less work, will you take that budget that already exists and split the pie 9 ways? They're now doing less work, not more. I appreciate you all listening to me, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Levinson. Commissioner, welcome. Hi.
Thank you.
Yeah, please.
Good evening,
I
Mr.
know everybody knows you, but for the record, introduce yourself,
I'm
please.
Hillsborough County Commissioner Donna Cameron Cepeda, and I represent District 5, which is a countywide seat. And good evening, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Charter Board members. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. And I would just like to, I'm here in support of actually 7 single-member districts. Now, I'm countywide. I love countywide. I've always loved countywide personally. I work, it's just amazing. Truly do love it. However, I've been studying, I wasn't here your last meeting because I have another board that I was serving on that met at the same time. But I've been studying about this and been reading about some of the history and the court's decisions that have been made regarding this issue. And I know that there's been many, there's Supreme Courts and other courts throughout history that have spoken clearly and struck down multi-member districts because they discriminated against small communities and minority voters. And so with that in mind, also, I really believe, and you know, when you think about it, when you have the county-wide seats, so you think, wow, you know, I can vote and I could end up having 4 commissioners for me. And that sounds great because you think, wow, you'll have like 4 commissioners, possibly, you know, the way it's set right now, you know, at 7 and 3 county-wides. So that sounds great. But what about the people that don't end up getting that many? So now what happens is your voice gets silenced, your vote gets diluted because now you have other people that are in the seats that are actually they're just not exactly your voice possibly. So you really have to think about that. So it sounds exciting. Wow, I could have 4, you know, commissioners for me, but also you could have 4 that are not, you don't feel are representing you. So it could go either way, and I think you really have to think about that, but it's very important. And so for that reason, I believe that the single-member districts are really the way that we should go. And also, for those that are running for office, it's required less resources, and you could have your small community rooted leaders who could serve, that really know that smaller community very well, and they have an opportunity to really run and represent their people. But also, I'd like to add that financially, keeping 7 districts, we would not have to have the 2 additional, or however many you decide you're interested in having. So you wouldn't have to have those additional commissioners, all the aides that go with that, plus building out, as we've heard, building out office spaces. That would not be required to do. Also, the space at the dais, that room is already limited, has limited space. So just so many of those things. So financially, keeping it at 7, I believe is the way to go for various reasons, the ones I've already mentioned, and also for financial reasons as well. So, and also, if you feel we need additional commissioners, that's something we can do, like after the census, the next census is taken, after, we're growing more. I mean, we're already, we have a good number already at where we are right now, but when we're growing even more, then we can add the next charter review board, could possibly, add on additional commissioners at that time. But, as our population increases. So that's what I really wanted to share with you today. And so I think it's very important. And the 7, as I said, would not require additional monies for so many reasons that I've already listed. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Making sure that your vote is not diluted and the small communities and minorities are represented. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you mind, let me see if any board members have questions for you. Does anyone have any questions to ask Commissioner Cameron Cepeda? Well, wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Gordon Schiff? Yes, sir. Give us your name and address for the record, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. My name is Gordon Schiff, 4155 West Cypress Street in Tampa, and I've previously appeared before you and expressed my views. I want to make sure they're clear in the minutes. My first point is stick with the current county commission of 7 members comprised of 4 single-member districts and 3 county-wide districts. But if you should decide to propose an increase to 9, that the split should be 5 single-member districts and 4 county-wide districts. And I'm not going to do the math again for you. It's straightforward. You can review the video from our last meeting, or your last meeting, I think it was last meeting, that I gave the reasons for that, those 2 positions. Okay, I'm going to go through a couple of things. There's been a lot said and a lot of facts, and I think some of it needs to be even some history, so I'll straighten some of that out, hopefully. The first question, though, I have for you all is this an exercise of a solution looking for a problem? And I'm not going to get too far into specific commissioners, but do you truly believe that Ken Hagan cannot presently do his job as a county commissioner? I do. I think he's doing a great job. Do you believe that Gwen Myers cannot handle the job? Obviously she can, and she came before you and told you that at your last meeting. Some commissioners can handle the job while having 2 jobs. Commissioner Cohn has a second job. Commissioner Stacy White had a second job. If you go back in history, you'll see loads of commissioners who had 2 jobs, and we're talking about too much, so I don't get it, okay? The geographical area of Hillsborough County, it's too big, it's too big, it's too big. Well, let's look at history. It's not any bigger than it was for the last 100 years, geographically, and in fact, it's smaller. In 1912, I believe it was, Pinellas County seceded from Hillsborough County. So it's not changed in size. There are substantial population centers that no one's talking about that have their own governments. City of Tampa, City of Temple Terrace, City of Plant City. If it's not supposed to be duplicative. You have extra governments covering City of Tampa, 415,000 people, 43,000 people or more now probably in Plant City, and Temple Terrace, 27,000 people or more. These people all have their own separate government. And you're worried about them getting served. They're being served by two. There are substantial, if the commissioners want to propose an expansion, they can. So it's nice that they come before you, but if they really believe it, they should take it up and vote on it. If the legislature wants to wade into this, they can. Let them do it. But I think it's important that you do the right thing for the citizens and the taxpayers of Hillsborough County. And that's your charge. It isn't to please a commissioner. It isn't to guess or speculate what a legislator might do, including my friend Michael Owen. Is more better? In 1998, the Constitutional Review Commission for the state said no when it proposed, and the Florida voters approved, an amendment to the state constitution reducing the cabinet from 6 to 3 independently elected officers with the governor. Finally, I will say that you need to do the right thing. Please remember that some of the proposals before you are to spend millions of dollars extra. In this age of Doge, I suggest that's a really bad idea. Thank you for your time, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Schiff. Appreciate it very much.
Can I ask a couple
Yes.
questions?
Just one or two questions is all. Go ahead.
Mr. Schiff, first, thanks, because I know you've been at every single one of the meetings, so I really appreciate that you've taken the interest and the time to do that. So I don't want anyone to think that you just showed up tonight and that it's the first meeting that they're watching. From everything that you've heard, what have you heard are the reasons for the expansion? In terms of testimony, in terms of the testimony that you've heard, what have you heard?
You're asking the reasons that people have given or the reasons that I've heard?
Well, it'd be good if it was the same thing.
I think the main reason is,
It'd be good if you heard the same thing.
I think the main reason that's being given is the growth in population. I think that's what's being given. But the question of representation, I believe that people are looking at the wrong side of the equation. The right side of the equation is how many commissioners do I have representing me? Because you can have a scheduler sitting right at the county commission. When I call in and say, I don't like my water bill, there's 4 people who can send it to their aides, they can send it to the administrator, and that's how it really happens. And so there's much more service with 4 people when I call in than there's 1. So I think it's just a concern about growth, population growth. That's what it is. But I don't think that translates to having more people, just like the state concluded it when it amended the Constitution that they actually thought we should have fewer people at the cabinet. And by the way, I think the governor does a great job with 25 million people. And when I came to Florida, it was a lot less than that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schiff. Appreciate it. Also asking for a comment was Mr. Citro. Would you please give us your name and address for the record?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Board members, thank you. Joseph Citro, 33611 for the record. I'd like to take just a couple seconds to speak about our county. Our county that, yes, population and land-wise is larger than several states in this union. We all live in different districts, but that does not mean that we're encapsulated in our districts. We travel this county for various reasons, to get to and from different events, sporting, the arts, recreation, fishing, golfing. My interests in our county do not just stay with my district. I want to know that I am represented in all areas of our county. My representative represents my district. I also want other representatives to represent my county, our great Hillsborough County. So yes, I applaud you all for discussing a 9-district county, but we should not overlook those representatives that will be looking at our interests in our county. So I ask, if you do a 9-member district, please include at least 3 at-large members that will represent all of us in our county. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Citro. That concludes the public comment. Well, okay, what I'd like to do is a quick review. For example, people have mentioned cost, but I asked Beth Cardenas if she would review. Could you please, it's in the meeting material, but maybe easier if Beth just reviews what the cost is associated with going from 7 to 9 commissioners.
Sure. So this was previously distributed at previous meetings, and Kevin Brickey, the Director of Management and Budget, provided this information and presented. But just the quick reminder, the FY25 budget for the Board of County Commissioners, the total budget was $3,847,292. And then Kevin presented to add the 2 seats. The total estimated costs are $1,904,588 to $2,304,588, and the breakdown of that is a recurring annual cost estimate of $1,104,588 and a one-time initial reconfiguration estimated cost approximately $800,000 to $1.2 million. So, just to put that together, the fiscal year 25 budget for the current 7 commissioners plus 2 additional would put you close to around $6 million, and that's an estimate.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak? You were all appointed by some commissioner. Anybody would like to say what their commissioner mentioned? Like, I can speak to Christine Miller. Anyone want to speak for their commissioner? Because we've heard I think Ken Hagan we have not heard from. Okay, I'll say, well, Christine Miller, as I understood it, her position was that she'd prefer 9 single-member districts, but she would accept a compromise position of 7 single members and 2 at-large positions. That's what I understood Christine Miller favored. Can anyone speak, wish to speak? Mr. Coons?
Yes, Commissioner Wastel was the same. It was nine districts, going to 9 districts, and then single-member districts.
9 singles was his preference? Okay. Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, same with Commissioner Hagan, if it goes to 9.
Oh, okay, good, thank you. 9 single.
Sorry,
9.
if it goes to 9, he's fine with either 9 single or 7 to 2, 7 to 2.
Oh, okay, okay. Anyone else? Dr. Collins?
I will speak because it's in the minutes, and I know I heard Commissioner Gwen Miles, so the second page of the minutes clearly state that we could keep the 7-member district with 3 countywide commissioners, and I do recall, that's what she said, explicitly clear, and I know I put my light on, but I didn't raise my hand, but I'm kind of confused, and I'd like to ask a question. If it's inappropriate, tell me. I wanted to ask Commissioner Cameron, when she said she supports 7-member districts, is she supporting to leave things? Or if someone here know exactly what she was saying? She said, yeah.
She wanted 7 single.
I wrote 7 members to support the 7 districts, and she wanted them to be single-member districts without any at-large or anything. Is that, okay? Because I know we've had quite a few come before, and I remember what they said. Okay. So I'm speaking on behalf of the commissioner that appointed me, Commissioner Myers, and she made it explicitly clear, and it's documented in the minutes.
You want to speak for Commissioner Bowles? I know you.
No, I don't want to. It's in the minutes, and he spoke for himself. And we have his letter.
Well, would you summarize it?
You have the documents and.
Oh.
Definitely an expansion to 9.
Proposed to create 9 separate single-member districts.
Thank you. That wasn't so hard. All right, Ms. Holt?
Commissioner Cohen indicated that he thought that the status quo was appropriate, however, that if we did move in any direction, that we should continue to have countywide and try not to dilute the voting power of the constituents.
Okay, I think that's everybody's position. All right, Now the question was, how would you like to proceed? We have a motion on the floor. If we follow the motion, it would be a discussion and a vote. So, Mr. White.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I know this is history again, but this resolution, R13-187, Mary Helen, can you speak to this resolution? Do you have a copy of it?
Yeah, I do. I
Do you-
wrote
Do
it.
you recall any of the history, the 7-0 vote from the previous county commissioners?
That's when they voted to just send this resolution over to the Charter Review Board for them to consider what the board has said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is, I guess, point of order, is this germane to the motion on the floor? If this reinforces what the motion is, great, and I would love to hear you expound upon this document. If it's not, then I would say this isn't germane at the moment.
I think it's just information. I look at it as information only.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So how would you like to proceed? We have a motion on the floor. It would call for a vote. It
Well,
has to get,
we can
would have to get
discuss
10, it would have to get 10 affirmatives.
Mr. Chair, before we-
Yes, sir.
Well, this is what I need to understand too. Okay, so it's October the 14th. We only have 4 meetings left that's on the schedule.
Yes, sir.
So your goal tonight is to get a vote to draw up some resolution language related to X district versus X district, one map, one resolution, potential. What's the next step? If we vote something now, I need to understand where we're at. Since
Sure.
we only have 4 meetings on the books.
Sure. And we could do special meetings in order to get a public comment in, so. We aren't limited to meeting 4 times for the rest of the year.
So, Mr. Chairman, what I'm saying, what are you trying to accomplish tonight?
What I was trying to accomplish, but we have a motion on the floor, so let's make it, was to ask you to vote if you wanted to go to 9 commissioners, naked. I'm not saying it should be districts, I'm not saying it should be split. Do you want to go to 9 commissioners? Are there 10 votes in this room, because it takes 10 votes, to even go to 9? And then, if there are 10 votes, then we would discuss if it should be a 7-2, 5-4, 8-1, or whatever split, and see if there's any combination of those that are single members that will garner the 10 votes necessary for a charter change to pass out of this committee.
Okay, I understand.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. So you're saying 10 votes to discuss 9, then another 10 votes to determine the makeup of that 9.
Yes, sir.
Then we have public comment. Your shop develops the
No.
language?
Well,
That-
only if they get the 10 votes.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. There's a lot of voting with 10 votes that I don't know if we necessarily need. I'm gonna just throw out my thought and opinion is I would love to discuss 9. And then I would love to either come back with public comment, because I would love to get the public's comments, thoughts on 9 single member or 7-2. I would love to get feedback from the public as to, okay, if we decided we're going to go to 9, what does that split look like? We've heard a lot about why single members should work. We've heard a lot of value in keeping the at-larges. So I still want that feedback. I still want to hear that. So I would love, if there's a way to do it, to say, to vote on doing the 9 and then coming back and getting comment on 9 single or 7-2 hybrid. That way, there's options out there. That's my thought.
Mr. White?
He's on to something. Okay. If you look at the history, how the Charter Review Board has worked, I recommend if we're gonna go to 9, push out the 9 number, all the different scenarios, have the staff draft them up, and whatever the combination is, you have the staff draw up 2, 3 proposals. We've done that in the past, Mary Helen. We've drawn up 2 or 3 and took those 2 or 3 to public hearing and allowed the public to say yes to A, yes to B, no to A, no to B, no to C, and we reach a conclusion based on public input and our own conscience. And so instead of us making the overall decision, draw up the different resolutions, all right, whatever our hearts desire, and send those 1 or 2 or 3 to public hearings, and then at that stage, you have 2 public hearings, and the public and everybody else get to weigh in on what we've taken to public hearing.
Let me start with Ms. Shogan and Ms. Holt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, don't we have to first decide and vote if we want to go from the existing status quo to 9? Isn't that the first vote that has to be taken before we proceed with the discussion of the 9? I don't know, I'm a little confused about that.
Well, not necessarily.
Well,
should be clear.
I agree.
So this is probably going to sound like a typical lawyer thing, so I apologize up front. But I don't even know that any of us have expressed why we should do something or why we shouldn't do something. It sounds like we've just jumped to this position, and I don't really think we've had a meaningful conversation. My very first question, and I hate to say it like this, but it would be, what have we heard from the public? What have we heard from the commissioners? A lot of us came in here with certain ideas because of wherever we come from and whatever we do in our private lives, but I don't really feel like this group has had any meaningful discussion about, because I seriously, all I've heard is it's a big job if it's a county-wide job. I've heard that, and I've heard the cost aspect of it, and I've heard the population part of it, and I've also heard the CFO come to Hillsborough County saying that our population in 5 years has only grown 123,000, which is a little different than what we heard. I mean, we haven't had any of those discussions, so I really feel like you know what my vote's going to be because we haven't had a meaningful discussion of why should we go from where we are today to something different. And I can tell you that although Harry Cohen, our commissioner that appointed me, said what he said here today, my marching orders are to do whatever I believe is the best thing to do under all the circumstances, and he's not going to be mad. I've been fortunate enough to talk with Commissioner Bowles, and I thought, because I wanted to say to him that it was great when he said to all of you all, even though you voted against his proposal, he was good to go with that. I just feel like we've jumped to this, and I know why you made the motion. I know why you made the motion. But I really feel that we have to go through like a one by one. What are we hearing? What do we think is the right thing to do, and why do we think it's the right thing to do? And I wish we hadn't gotten the legislative delegation memo. But your transparency is great, but I wish we hadn't gotten it because I also feel we're being affected by that to some extent, and I don't think we should be. The one thing that I think we should do is what our task is, and because I am a lawyer, I go about what evidence have we heard? Opinions are great, but what substantiates moving from where we are? What substantiates that? At a time when people are talking about reducing cost, at a time when people are saying reduce taxes, at a time when people are saying all kinds of things, reduce government, we haven't had those conversations. And I believe I'm a moderate conservative person moderate to conservative when it comes to financial matters, and I really am affected by that aspect of this. I am not as impressed by population as some people seem to be very honest with you. Do I believe that there's some underrepresentation in certain communities that have been hit hard? Sure. But I just wish that we could have a real conversation about this and not feel like compelled to have a vote on this motion because I don't know how people would be making their decision right now, I guess. That's a typical lawyer thing, I guess, and I'm sorry, but that's just how I personally feel here today.
I recognize Ms. Hall and then Dr. Collins. Ms. Hall?
So you get 2 lawyers in a row. How about that?
Woo! Oh, boy. Boom, boom.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, I think we can't operate in a bubble, and I think that's kind of what's happening. Again, I understand why Ms. Sniley made her motion, but I feel like it's pressuring us to automatically assume 9 after you've heard a county commissioner today and several before saying, hey, let's deal with the 7. And I think that's well-founded. We don't jump over that, especially as Ms. Holt quite accurately remarked, the people of this community, the people of this state are being financially hard hit right now. Homeowners insurance, property insurance, insurance everywhere, cost of groceries, I mean, gas, everything. I mean, I don't know if we even recognize we went through an entire move from summer to fall, and our gas didn't go down like it usually does after summer. So I think it's going to be, we want to pass something here that is going to be received well by the people. And statewide, we have a population that does not appreciate big government. Nationally, we are under a move to make smaller government. To automatically jump to 9 without fully discussing the possibilities of 7, I think is a bit premature, and possibly even slighting those commissioners who proposed the 7 as an option.
Thank you. Dr. Collins?
Yes. I'm appreciative for those discussions we've had at previous meetings, and we've listened to commissioners, past commissioners, community people who have spoke. And at the beginning of this meeting, despite my delinquency, we listened to what we heard that our commissioners that we were representing. But I have to agree, what do we feel and why we feel that way? And I've not heard the discussion from any of us that may not have come from our commissioner. I was late, so I missed the motion. But I would vote against it. I would say let it stay as it is. Because whatever we've all heard and what we've benefited from, and wherever our pros and cons are based on where we're going, I started off clearly thinking we needed more. Because from the beginning, what we saw was population information that told us how great the population of Hillsborough County had grown, how we had not kept up with the other larger counties in the state. And we also heard that those commissioners that was out in the county were being overworked, receiving a whole lot of calls, and they were being overwhelmed. So I'm going, well, if that population had increased that much and we've not made the changes, maybe it's time. But the more we've talked about it, I felt like, no, that's not as bad as they've indicated it is. And I've heard commissioners indicate that they are actually covering their areas and other areas, and they're working collaboratively together. All of this other stuff we're hearing from Tallahassee and from the national and all that, I agree that we should be here. And if Board Member Snively have a real strong thing on this 9, let me hear what she has to say. You know, she's sat on the school board. She's kind of listened to parents and community people and worked with them. Let me hear what she has to say. If Board Member White has been here before and he's heard it, and I could kind of call everybody name. I don't know what we're feeling, but I have gone from thinking we needed more to help a growing population to the point that when I look at the cost and I look at the potential for them to team up together and work collaboratively to make sure that the citizens of Hillsborough County are taken care of, I'm back to, well, we don't need that. And so if I had to give some reasons and discuss, I would also like to hear what the other, and so if not, let's stay where we are and go with what we have now. 7, and have it split 4-3.
Ms. Snively, did you wish to speak?
Oh, yes.
Please.
So my intent on making the motion was to have a discussion about why or why not we would choose to expand our board to 9. And all we've been talking about is talking about it and not really having a discussion around it. So I would implore you, Mr. Chair, to please direct a discussion around why or why not we should have 9 members on our commission.
Wait a second, your motion was not just nine single-member districts.
Nine single-member seats on the commission. So at this point, moving forward, the idea would be to weigh both sides and allow all of us to hear the argument or deliberate on what we think should be the right number and why, factually and logically and rationally, why or why not. And perhaps we change the motion based on that information. So at this point, I would really hope that we start talking about why or why not 9 single-member districts go. I'll go first.
Yeah. Well, Ms. Snively is correct, and I was coming back to it as soon as whoever wanted to speak spoke. The motion on the floor is 9 single-member districts. So you wish to discuss that specific motion?
Sure. I mean, there are obviously pros and cons to that. We've heard a lot of pros and cons. We've talked about population. I think personally, coming from an unincorporated part of Hillsborough County that tends to be underrepresented, that if we could have more representation, we've had one in the history of the county commission that I'm aware of, we've had one person from District 4 who's been a county-wide seat, and that is all. That is the only person who's ever been elected from Eastern, please correct me if I'm wrong, from Eastern Hillsborough County. Al Higginbotham is the only person that I'm aware of that has been elected from District 4 to a county-wide seat. So our chances are slim for representation because we all know that it takes big campaign dollars to get elected. It takes a huge amount of time and effort to get elected in a county-wide seat. And our chances of getting represented in a county-wide seat from Eastern Hillsborough County, unless we secede from the western side of the county, are very slim to none, and Slim just left town. So that is why I think 9 members, if we could get more representation from Eastern Hillsborough County. And then the other thing I'll remind everyone is that I know we keep talking about having more votes. I get that. I understand that. I'm a little bit soft on that as far as I understand wanting to have more commissioners to vote for. But at the same time, and this is what I received out on the school board, many times we had this discussion as board members, we represent the entire county. We may come from a district, and we may have different interests and want to advocate for some specific things that happen in our district. But when I was on the school board representing District 4, I represented every student and everybody, every constituent in Hillsborough County. I didn't just represent what was happening in District 4. Now, I advocated for things to happen in my district, but every single constituent was my constituent in the entire county. And I implore everyone to remember that, even if there are 9 single-member districts or 7 single-member districts or however many single-member districts there are, every single-member commissioner represents every single person in Hillsborough County, not just who voted for them. So that would be my argument for 9 single, but I'm open and amenable to suggestions if I hear better arguments. Thank you.
We are discussing the motion of 9 single-member districts. Please.
I just want to say that most of all the voices that we've heard, and it was good to hear so many different people coming at this from so many different directions. Mariella Smith, to me, spoke to both sides of this argument really eloquently in that she's been a county commissioner, and she knew what the job was when she did it. And she did it, and she also knew what it was like to be a person advocating for a district. And to me, that's been the most compelling thing. I think there's something kind of wonderful about the fact that in Hillsborough County, if you're a voter in Hillsborough County, you elect most of your county commission. There's something, I can't look away from that. I think that is one of the purest, most important things that we're talking about here. And I just haven't heard enough to tell me that there's some, I appreciate the fact because you've been in office and you say you represent the entire county, but your district is what elects you. And that's a completely different animal from being countywide. It's just completely different. The cost also, I think that's huge, and I see my fiscally conservative friends on this board thinking, that's a lot. That's a lot to think about. But the idea that this feels like a solution in search of a problem, I think is one of the most compelling things that somebody said. I'm trying to push forward and see where it's coming from. 9 members with a 5-4, still a lot of money. I just don't see the compelling reason to change, so that's where my head's at.
Again, we're talking about the motion on the floor, which is 9 single-member districts. Ms. Hall?
I want to preface this by saying first, when we started this discussion, I was much like you. I was thinking 9 would be good. But something was said to me in the last meeting that really made me think. And I went and I did my homework. And we know Ms. Snively has been a school board member. We know what her expertise is. We know what the commissioners is. But I want to preface what I'm going to give you as my factual homework with a little bit about my background. I am a constitutional attorney. I have not only been a constitutional attorney for almost 2 decades, but I study constitutions. I've written 6 books on constitutions. I have studied every constitution of these United States, which is 51. I have taught the constitutions of every state in every state. Not only that, I have studied the constitutions of over 24 foreign countries. I have advised kings and prime ministers and rulers on their own constitutions. I have helped write 2 constitutions for 2 foreign countries, and this charter is the Hillsborough County Constitution. This literally is why Ms. Cepeda asked me to be here, because this is my expertise. And so I want to tell you why I believe that single-member districts is how we need to go to solve this problem first, just dealing with that. So according to the Constitution of the United States, every state, every district must be a Republican government. A Republican form of government rests on one simple truth, that each citizen's vote has to carry equal weight. That only happens with single-member districts. Each commissioner represents the same people, with each voter having an equal voice. Single-member districts ensure that each resident gets the best representation, equal representation, and a solid accountability for the representative. Countywide seats break this balance. In a countywide race, candidates have to appeal to the largest population centers, which means they must ignore the smaller population centers. That means the majority areas get to choose their own district commissioner and every county-wide commissioner, while voters in small or rural districts only get their single representative. So what that means in the end is some citizens end up with a 1+ vote and others end up with a 1- vote. That's not equality, that's disparity. This is why the U.S. House of Representatives is apportioned by districts, and only the smallest states are allowed one at-large representative, because at-large elections inherently distort equal representation. So, like I said, I know this. After the Civil War, some of our states used at-large elections for Congress. The result was that the dominant party in the most populous areas won every seat. Rural and minority voices were shut out, and Congress ended the practice with the Apportionment Act of 1842 to protect equal representation. Our courts, in White v. Register in 1973, the Supreme Court struck down multi-member districts in Texas because they discriminated against minority voters. In Thornburg v. Giggles in 1986, the court established the factors for proving vote dilution under the Voter Rights Act, holding that at-large elections deprived minority members of equal opportunity. And in Dillard v. Crenshaw in 1987, the 11th Circuit forced Alabama counties to abandon at-large systems for the same reason, They diluted the voice of minority voters. So for more than 35 years, our courts have consistently overturned multi-member at-large systems under the Gingell's factors. We know these systems are not only subject to judicial review, but are legally vulnerable to be struck down. But more importantly, whether we believe that'll happen or not, over 35 years, nearly 4 decades of history proves to us that at-large districts do not make for more representation, they actually make for less. The single-member district commissioner represents one community and is directly accountable to that community. A community-wide commissioners are pulled to prioritize the areas within the most votes. Expanding to single-member districts solves the problem of underrepresentation in a growing county. Now, the question then becomes, do we do 9 or do we do 7? That should be where we are, because if we want to best serve the people of Hillsborough County, then we best serve them through single districts. What's interesting is this, I find, this idea that if I get to cast more than one vote, I somehow get more than one representation. See, that's not true. It's actually an illusion. You may cast more than one vote, but you don't get more than one representation. As it was pointed out, maybe the person you casted a vote for wins, you get a 1+ representation. But if you cast 14 and only the person you voted for in your district wins, you only get 1, even though you casted 14 votes. This is not a slot machine. You don't get better representation the more quarters you put in the slot. You don't get a bigger return like that. You actually get a less return, and history proves that rural counties and minority districts get less representation in a countywide seat. That's exactly what Commissioner Cohen has stated. That's what Commissioner Woolstill said. It's not about who has too much work to do. It's about how do we serve the people in the best way that we can. I can tell you that I'm not happy that Tallahassee wants to make our decisions for us. How convenient it is for them to be in Tallahassee to tell us that we have to move to a 9-member district and then foot us with the bill. Is Tallahassee going to make that decision and then pay the difference? No, it's going to fall on the taxpayers without even letting us make the decisions for ourselves. Do I believe that we are not representing our population properly in Hillsborough County? 100% I do. Do I believe that we need 9? No, I do not. I did when I came here. I don't anymore. Because I realize now, after all my research and hearing the testimony, how much at large dilutes the vote and the representation of the people. So we have clear precedent that multi-member at-large districts dilute representation. They don't give you more. They make you feel like you have more, but it's an illusion. You don't, unless, of course, you live in the higher populated areas, right? These multi-member districts magnify inequality rather than solve it. Countywide commissioner seats could expose to a judicial challenge, especially in a day where we're more divided politically and ideologically, and people love to sue. And I think that the choice is clear. Countywide commissioners magnify the power of large majority populations and dilute the voices of smaller or rural districts. And our Republican form of government, obviously not the party, but the kind, demands equal representation in weight for every voter. And that is why I stand here, not from my opinion, which is why I read a script, because believe me, I could talk for hours on my opinions. But I wanted to stay on fact. I want to give you the facts. I wanted to stay on facts. And I want you to know why I am so passionately compelled at this point to vote against any measure that will include county-wides. And given the economy the way it is, even as my own family struggles, and hearing the commissioners say, hey, maybe we can do this with 7 if it's 7 single-member districts. So my commissioner told me the same thing. As a matter of fact, when she left here, she texted me. She said, I've told you what I believe, but I want you to do what you believe is right and what the Lord has told you to do. But I am standing here in agreement with my county commissioner, and I stand with her that the solution is 7 single-member districts that do not increase cost to the taxpayers, but do increase representation for the people of Hillsborough County.
Thank you. Appreciate you being so articulate. We are discussing a motion on the floor made by Mrs. Snively about 9 single-member districts. Anyone wish to speak on that? Mr. White?
Well, you know, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your question, and my continuous passion and reason for pushing for additional single-member districts, it goes back to Leslie Les Miller, the former county commissioner, the former representative, the former state senator, former city council person, you know, called for it. And the reason he called for it back in the day is there was not a Hispanic representative on the Board of County Commissioners. The Hispanic citizens, the Latino citizens have not had an opportunity to elect a representative of their choice. The African-American community, the black community, has a seat on the Board of County Commissioners. And so that's my passion, to change it in a way that will allow the Hispanic population of Hillsborough County to elect a representative of their choice. That's my reason, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. White. We are talking about a motion for 9 single-member districts. Any other thoughts? Ms. Snively?
I just wanted to ask a question of Mr. White. Are you in favor of 9 single-member districts? Or are you in favor of 9 members with a combination of single districts and countywide seats?
What I would like to see several proposals go to public hearing and allow the public to weigh in. And I wouldn't want the board to make a final decision on what we want to go to ballot. I would like to take several proposals to public hearing and open it up for 1.4 million citizens in Hillsborough County to come to the Charter Review Board and let their wishes be known.
So at this juncture, you don't have an opinion yet?
I don't have anything concrete other than taking a couple of proposals to public hearing and getting some formal weigh-in from the citizens of Hillsborough County. I think that would be the best thing that we can do, not take it on ourselves to say yes or no to one proposal or another, but use the study to put together a couple of resolutions and allow the county legal staff to draw up these resolutions, something we could take to public hearing. And that's something that we have done in the past, charter review boards have done in the past. And in the end, some things pass and go to ballot, and most things don't. But we'll be able to say, we've heard the people's cry, we've taken it to public hearing, and the majority of the citizens that came to our public hearing said no to X or yes to Y, and those are the ones in the end we voted out and put on the ballot.
Thank you.
Other comments? I'll recognize Ms. Roach and Ms. Holt.
Yeah, I just wanted to give my colleague here the mic so she could drop it after her comments. I thought it was that good. I've never been able to articulate it as well, but I think the equal representation, and I think Ms. Snively was getting there by talking about Commissioner Higginbotham being the only countywide elected in the history since at least 1980. So I commend you on that well-researched thing. I too am more focused on single-member districts than county-wides for a couple other reasons. And one is you have the built-in term limit issue. I think the intent of the county charter as voted was 8 years, and it has been, there is a big loophole that the countywide exists. I know that would solve that problem. And just the other thing I wanted to say to the comments that the county-wides were here complaining about how hard the job was. I don't look at it from that perspective. I look at it from the perspective of the people and how well they were served by their representatives. I think government closer to the people is the best form of government. So going to countywide from single-member districts, and you keep it at 7, would give you that. Right now, our district-wide, 1.6 million divided by 4 districts, you're roughly 375 to 400,000 people in one single-member district. You're 1.6 million for the county-wides. That's 2 congressional districts. The senator, that's more people than the senators of 11 states. That's how big the county is. Rhode Island, Delaware, North Dakota, South Dakota, I could go on, Alaska, Vermont, Wyoming, Montana, Maine. So I just think it's unworkable with countywide representation at this point. My preference is 9, single member. I could be convinced to go 7 single member, but I definitely think we need to get rid of the countywides just for what Ms. Hall said, for the term limits, and for the fact that the government would be closer to the people.
Thank you. Ms. Holt? It's not that hard. Come on.
No. I'm trying, first of all, Commissioner Cohen did not say that he was in favor of 7 single-member districts. So I just want to make that really clear, because he did not say that. He was very clear in that he wanted countywide. So, and I'm sure you heard it from somebody else, but it was because a couple of people have said it.
Oh, no, I was
but-
Mark, and then he told you that you could vote on however you wanted.
I can.
Oh, I
Yeah,
wasn't.
that I can.
Yeah, no, I wasn't remarking. I don't even,
Okay.
to be honest, I don't remember what he said, so.
Okay. And although I understood everything that you were saying, and I think that, when you look at Temple Terrace, when you look at Plant City, those governments that Mr. Schiff spoke about, that is the extra support, that is the extra representation that these places have. That's what City Council does for Tampa, that's what Temple Terrace gets, Plant City, all of these areas, they have that extra representation, they have that extra protection, and that's why a lot of them collaborate together, all these different governmental agencies, so that they can make sure that they're all on point. If you look at what the real obligations are of the Board of County Commission, one, they set policy, and they set policy for everybody. And so, as Ms. Snively says, when you're setting policy, whether it's a school board, whether it's a county commission, yeah, you're looking at the entire community, the entire county as it relates to making policy decisions. When they sit in their capacity for property, land zoning, things of that sort, again, if you have only single-member districts, you feel the pressure as the one person who represents that area. You alone feel that pressure when it comes to zoning. Whereas when you need 4 votes, you have this extra layer of, frankly, protection for you as the single member, because you've got to convince all these other people to help you on zoning. So that takes care of 2 of the 3 things that the Board of County Commission really does. And if there's more, I'd love for you guys to clarify that for me. The third one is the budget. And with the budget, it's kind of interesting. Mike Owen, when he was on the Board of County Commission, how long was he there? 2 years? 2 years? So how many times did he say District 4, District 4, District 4, District 4, District 4? That's what you hear when you watch. And frankly, Ms. Snively, I don't think it happens as much on the school system, because you're mandated through the Department of Education. You have a lot of other things. So it's a totally different dynamic. And even the idea that you would combine the school districts with the Board of County Commission, to me, really shows, are we doing this for political reasons, or are we doing this for what's in the best interest of Hillsborough County? Because that's what I believe that I care about. I care about Hillsborough County. And I do, frankly, even if it's an illusion in my mind, I love the fact that I vote for more people than just one, and I love that more people are having to be responsive to me if something goes wrong. I wasn't as taken aback by the population aspect, because I've run countywide. I've had to respond to countywide, and all my lawyers, they went to court, but all the problems that came with being the public defender, they were mine. And so I know what it's like to serve 1.4 million people. I also know what it's like to campaign. I was, in 1992 when I ran, it was totally grassroots. Nobody knew who I was, nobody knew anything. I get elected, and do things get better as time goes on? The answer is yes. Was it a big county to cover? I never even knew where Fort Lonesome was until I became, I never knew. So the answer is, of course, it's big. But what it brought to me was an understanding of what this community is, who this community is, all the different aspects of it, which when Mariella Smith spoke, I think that one of the things that I thought was so clear, and I really thought it was going to convince a lot of you that we have to have some county-wide. I really thought that she did a great job of making it clear. Only the county-wides would come down to her area when she was doing a town hall. And that's why, because they also had to have the votes of that particular community. Did the single member people come? The answer, she made it clear to us. The answer was no, they did not. And so to me, whatever it may be from the constitutional aspect of it, Ms. Hall, what I see is you have to have more than one person care about a community. So you've got to have some type of county-wide representation. You just have to. Commissioner Cepeda said, yeah, you're right on the financial part of it. On the financial part, it's a lot easier to just say, I want the money for my community. But when you're forced into working collaboratively, when you're forced into thinking county-wide, when you have to balance the different communities you represent, that's forcing, to me, a more representative form of government. And I think it's up to the individual commissioners to battle for their community, no doubt about it, but I do think that there's a safety in having countywide commissioners have to be responsible for the entire community and knowing the entire community. If you never have to leave South Tampa, if you never have to leave South Tampa to go get a vote, to go see what the roads look like, who's going to go down to Sun City? Who's going to go down to Sun City if you live in South Tampa? And the answer is not many. And so I think it's not realistic to think that single member districts are going to solve the problem of getting more personal representation. Why I'm not impressed by population, because population is being driven not by all adults, it's also being driven by children. And so 123,000 people in 5 years being added to our population doesn't impress me, because probably 60,000 is kids. And so for me, I land at the same place. What is wrong with the system that we have in place right now? What is wrong with the system that we have in place right now? And I truly respect Ms. Hall's comments. I've enjoyed sitting on this charter review board and hearing all these things. I didn't do so well in constitutional law in law school, so, wish I'd have been there with you. But it starts with what is wrong? What is wrong? And do I feel that East County has grown really a lot and has, is not maybe getting some of the services that they should be getting? I think that's representative of something different than moving to a single member district and getting better results. I am, from the financial standpoint of it, $6 million is not a lot in the budget, but at the end of the day, do I think the timing is good? Do I think this is the right time to expand a board? Do I think it's the right time to expand our budget? Do I think that it's the right time to be balancing tax reform together with expanding costs to the public? And the answer is the timing couldn't be worse for us, could not be worse for us. And I know that our charge is what it is, but I am going to struggle with voting for single-member districts without any type of county-wide. I'm going to struggle with moving from 7 to 9. And if the vote is, how many of us are on here, 16? 11? 14? If the vote is 13 to 1 against me, I am going to really sleep well because I believe it's the fiscally conservative right thing to do and not to add additional monies. I don't know about y'all, but I was not happy to watch somebody, coming here and saying the things that were said about Hillsborough County, because I feel compelled now even more to say, okay, I really have to pay better attention, make sure I don't add any expenses to the budget, talk to my constitutional friends and say, hey, we need to really rein in some things if need be. But I don't think I want to be a part of expanding our budget. I don't want to be a part of diluting, in my mind, the fact that it will take 4 people to do the right things for the 1.5 people in this community. And I don't think you will see, when people talk about collaboration and talk about how well everybody works together, how many of us are watching the Board of County Commission meetings? How many of us are watching City Council meetings? How many of us watch the legislative process? How many of us are really seeing the things that they're struggling with and whether or not they are able to agree? And do you really think moving from what we have now to single-member districts, 7 single-member districts, is going to solve the problems? Or do you think we should just have more accountability when we go to the ballot box? And that's how I feel about it. And I've had to do everything that y'all have talked about. I had no money, so I had to knock on doors. I didn't run with a big 200, 300, 400. They didn't even have PACs back in '92, did they? So I've done it all. So I'm not coming from a spot of saying that, I know it all, but I have done a lot of what we've been talking about here. And I can tell you that the more accountable you have to be to more people, the more accountable you are, frankly, in my opinion. It's no different than the county administrator having to be accountable to all of the commissioners. The county attorney, accountable to all the commissioners. And I think we see that in our form of government. I am happy to say that I would had Ms. Snively not made it clear that she wanted to make a motion at our last meeting and be first up, I would have made a motion today to remain at the status quo.
Mr. Taylor next, and then Mr. Coons. Thank you for your remarks. Mr. Taylor?
No, thank you for everyone's remarks. This has been a well of goodness here in people's perspectives and lenses. And let me say out of the gate, just like everyone else has, I have free autonomy to vote how the good Lord puts on my heart to vote on this thing. And I appreciate all your comments, Ms. Holt. Obviously, I have a great affection for you and how your mind fires and works. But some of those points that you made are the reason actually why I am in favor of at least 9 members. I'm fine if we compromise with a 7-2. I lean toward single member. Ms. Hall, Mr. Roche, Ms. Snively, others have much better than I articulated why single member. I do think population is a problem. It's a good problem because people are moving to my county, my city, where I've been born and raised. And now I have 4 boys, 8, 7, and twin 5-year-olds. I will never stop talking about my boys. And that's one of the reasons why I think this is so important, because population has grown. Now, which data points, figures you're going to look at, we all know we are at right around 1.5 million, and we are growing, and we have been growing. And it is because of Jimmy, Will, Jack, and George, who will be of voting age, sadly, not, in a couple of years. We're handing the baton off to them, to that generation. I don't feel that old, but it goes by fast. And they're the ones who hopefully are going to be engaged in the civic process. We'll see if I have any of my boys that will follow in my footsteps. They're going to do their own thing, but who knows if they're going to be involved, in this process. And so that's the lens I also look at as well. And so when you look at where we are with our makeup. And I don't think this is a horrible thing, the current makeup that we are. I'm not going to sit here and be like 4-3 is awful. No, I think there is merit to what Ms. Hall has said and what Ms. Carlton has said, and I have said. I think it's a good thing. They get to go to the ballot and you get to vote for the majority of your county commissioners. But we're an outlier. We are an outlier in how we elect our county commissioners. You look, we once had, if you all remember, we once had at-large state seats, and we went to single member in the 80s. Our state government still functioned. We still, because we're mandated, passed a budget. We still, in the 80s and 90s, when it was required, worked across aisles to get legislation done. So that going to single member is not going to blow up this system and this process. Yes, this new form of government, going to 9 single, hypothetically, yeah, you're going to have to figure it out. But if Miami-Dade can do that, Broward, West Palm, Orange, if they can do that, especially 2 of those counties are comparable in population as us, we can learn how to, even though we're a district, we have district commissioners, to Ms. Snively's anecdote and point, because she lived it out, people will work together, in my area of Carrollwood and Sun City Center. But it was in 2014 when I was working on a state house race and also concurrently working a judicial race, which was countywide, where, oh my goodness, I realized I'm in Sun City Center putting up signs, and now I'm getting, the email on my BlackBerry to go up to Keystone, and that is a large area. And so you then look at it effectively representing that our wonderful big county. And I asked the question in our previous meeting, I appreciate all the county commissioners that have come and former electeds that have come. We need their lens. We need their insight. Absolutely. We would be fools not to ask them questions. But at the end of the day, I'm not coming from, well, what's going to best help them? I'm coming back from the citizen to the voter who will have the greatest access and influence over their representative. That's the lens, that is the barometer for me where I'm ultimately coming at. So going to 9 members and going, again, hypothetically, to single member, that brings that population, because I do think population is important, because you got to effectively lead. That brings it manageable, because population is not going down, it's growing. Coming back to my boys, should they ever want to jump in the ring and run for office, if we're still at a 4-3 hybrid in 2035, and, we now have a county of over 2.25 million, way more than Congress represents, way more obviously than any of our state electeds. I just don't think there's great wisdom. And we now have the opportunity, remember, we put this to the voters at the end of the day. We give them the ultimate decision to say, how do you want your county commission to look? And I think this is a great opportunity now. We already know the state is looking into it, and I'm not worried about political pushback, because if our state lawmakers are doing it and the governor's in agreement, we're going to be okay at the ballot box. I'm not worried about political pushback. Fiscally, I'm a conservative. And I know a lot of us in here kind of give different definitions of what that means. I'm not worried about the cost. Half that cost is a one-time payment. Then yes, 2 commissioners, 2 aides in perpetuity. But what are we doing? We are ultimately making it efficient for that office and the people to have greater access. And that is worth $6 million $3 million in perpetuity when we're dealing with a budget of $12 billion that was just passed. Now, I get it. That's not all county money. That's passed through. But let's also put that into perspective. I'm not diminishing cost. But we still go to the ballot box and we vote on these taxes all the time. And sometimes my conservative view is like, no, I do want that. And I'm willing to say, yes, let's absolutely give the school board more resources or the county more resources. There are other times where I'm like, you know what? No, I don't think there's wisdom in that. I'm not worried about the fiscal because, again, at the end of the day, it is for the citizens. And the county commission can absolutely decide, all right, we're paying $3 million for this build out. Well, they can find money in the budget to reduce $3 million elsewhere. So it's, so it is not this obscene hurdle. I don't think it should be a hurdle. So with that, I am for 9. I think I pivot 9 single. I can be absolutely influenced at 7-2. 5-4 is a non-starter. And I hear 7 single. I just think where we are now and where we're going with population, it makes the most sense to go ahead and account for the future, because in 5 years from now, if we're like, my goodness, population's still going, we should have done 9. There's no fault in adding 2 additional to make that number manageable, palatable for, yes, the commissioner, but most importantly, for the citizen and the voter. So that's where I stand.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. White, again, the motion on the floor is to discuss 9 members.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you there first? I was looking down. Please, go ahead.
When we get older, we lose track of.
Well, it's that it's that side vision. So, yeah.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'm not getting older, am I?
It's just easier for me to say, I really like what you said and what you said and what you said and just say ditto. Ms. Holt, could I ask a clarifying question? Because in our first or second meeting, I think I asked you about this as well, in the countywide, and you were explaining the pros of it, and I've listened intently each and every time. So if I'm trying to understand what the benefit is, because I too am a 9-member, single-member district vote or preference, when you're talking about I like to get to vote for at least half of the folks, wouldn't it then be better, I like to push it to the extreme, wouldn't it be better just to have everybody countywide?
Oh, I would love it.
And then you would have that would be the ideal.
That would be, in my mind, that would be ideal. Everybody would be countywide, but that's not even, I wouldn't even have brought that up because I thought y'all might shoot me.
Okay. So that.
But no, I do believe in that, and the reason I say that is I really think it forces people to really think big picture, to think about how you long-term spend money. This charter review board meets often enough to where if we have a significant boom in population or a significant decrease in budgets or anything, we can address all those things. Okay. But from a countywide standpoint, and I learned, to me, where it really became very clear to me that countywide, it's when you start talking about East County not having the things that they should be having, and there's pressure on more people to serve that community. And that's what I think is starting to happen. I hear everybody's conversations about having a Hispanic seat, but I've just got to tell you that the way some of the build out is happening, what's happening in our community, I think it's going to become harder and harder sometimes to achieve certain things. And so for me, I see things maybe differently than other people. I think countywide is where it's going to ultimately have to be so that everybody is properly represented.
That's interesting.
That would be perfect.
And as far as representation, Hispanic or African American, I confess that I'm really confused. If every single county commissioner was African-American, that would be fine with me. I just do not see that difference. I guess I understand from a historical point of view why that's a big deal, and I don't have that same history. But the person that represents you, it just doesn't matter. They could be all Hispanic. It really doesn't matter. I really like our county and the way it's set up. I have 2 children. I don't have children. I have 1 child that lives in this county, but 2 in Boston. Wow, that's a nightmare. Another in Manhattan. Oh my goodness. So we really have it, and we really have it good. I'm really glad we're here in the way we are. I also listen. It seems like when I think of the county, I see a map and I see little zones. And I see zones and neighborhoods and communities, granted, 300,000 people, big areas, but relatively small geographic areas, where it seems to me, from my point of view, that I would rather have someone that lived in that area and was experiencing the same things. And that's why I go to that. Most of you have a lot more information, knowledge, experience on how the county commissioners actually work. And so maybe I'm missing that aspect of it. But just the thought of having someone that is out in our area, I live in Lithia as well, and so out in our area that's nearby that represents us and understands and is a huge plus to me. And then also the population. So,
Thank you. Appreciate you sharing.
Mr. Chair, may I respond directly to something Mr. Kuntz said very quickly?
Can you do it in 30 seconds?
Well, close to it. Because the young man that stood before us, Jamar, actually addressed that. It's not about the Hispanic or African American, but what we're doing is overgeneralizing based on representation of districts, because we know certain districts, certain populations are as they are. If we go countywide, I think to answer your question, one of the things about countywides is running is so expensive countywide that people who come from the economically depressed regions have no chance of winning because they cannot get the money that it takes to win a countywide. And I think that's probably what you were going at.
Okay, thank you. Mr. White, do you have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under the existing charter, and it's been around, since 1986?
It was an ordinance in 1983, and it went to the voters in 84. It was implemented, I think, in 85, but mid-80s.
Okay.
Basically.
As far as my recollection, Mr. Chairman, there's never been an African-American, a black citizen in Hillsborough County elected countywide. Am I correct on that? There's never been a black African-American elected countywide in Hillsborough County. So has the countywide district served the African-American people as it should? We've had friends, the black folks in Hillsborough County have had friends that has been elected countywide, but we've never been able to elect, and we've had some qualified, top-notch folks, black folks, run countywide with it just haven't been even been accomplished. We haven't been able to jump that hurdle. So I'm not ready to close the argument, Mr. Chairman. I want to see what 9 looks like. I want to move forward with 9. But the question for the county attorney is, once we move forward with 9, if we hear from the public and they want something different based on what we take forward, are we going to be able to change it and make an adjustment, or are we going to run out of time and just be dead in the water?
Well, that just depends on when you make these decisions and when it goes. I mean, we can add more meetings, but you need to be cognizant of the fact that you have a sunset date sunset in February. But we can add more meetings, so.
Yeah, and typically if there were to be a charter amendment that passes, we would probably schedule special meetings just so we could get that public hearing done without having to just count regular meetings.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to figure out a way to move forward with the 9. You know, we have great community leaders, and I think if we move forward with the 9, we're going to hear from all segments of this county, and we need to give all segments of this county an opportunity, the municipalities and all, an opportunity to weigh in. So I would like to figure out a way to just continue to move forward with the 9.
Well, maybe I want to talk about how to go forward, but I'm going to challenge that. I think we've been so open and we've had so many people for 2 months come in and talk to us I don't know how much more we can do, Mr. White, to get people to come to speak to us, yeah. So I'm a little.
I'm talking about the public hearing process. This is just the board and public input. Once
sir.
we put something on the table, then we open up for public hearing.
Yes, sir, and there will be public hearings once we establish we want a charter amendment, but not to speculate on what the charter amendment will be. Once we've got one, there will be public hearings. So I need to get your idea how you'd like to proceed, but, so, do you want to make any quick remarks? I'm interested in how you want to proceed, because we're getting near the end of the meeting time tonight.
I could move to postpone postpone the motion until the next meeting. We haven't really heard from every single person, but I know that your time is sensitive, our time is sensitive for kind of an 8 o'clock end to these meetings. And so I would move to postpone this motion until the next meeting so that we can hear more opinions from the rest of the group who hasn't had a chance to speak yet about this. And then we can talk about at that meeting that if we wanted to, I would entertain a potentially motion to amend the motion. So just know that that's an opportunity. And then also if it's put out there publicly, like it has been, that we're talking about this 9-member district or 9 single-member district, then hopefully we will get some more feedback from the public, and maybe we'll get more people to come and speak to our group as well with their opinions, and that will be on us to collect opinions from the citizens that we live with in our communities as well.
Dr. Collins?
If we're going to delay it, I've been writing while everyone else was talking, and I've been doing my own SWOT analysis, so I would be fine if we move it to next month.
Is that a second?
Yeah, I'll second the motion, Ms. Snively, yeah.
Oh, that was a motion? Yeah.
That was. Yes,
I
sir.
would
It's a very long
definitely do that.
winded motion.
I
Sorry.
thought you was
It's in
just
there
giving an
somewhere.
idea, but if it's a motion, I second.
We have a motion on the floor to delay the item to the motion made earlier by Mrs. Snively to the next meeting, and we have a second on that motion. Is there any discussion of the motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I just want to remind the board of this statement I gave to the board on this resolution, R13-187. This is not new. This has been going on since 2013, when the Board of County Commissioners sent this resolution to the Charter Review Board. I believe the Hillsborough County Legislative Delegation is going to look at this resolution.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. White.
All right,
Mr.
Mr.
Taylor,
Chairman.
you want to
Let me
say?
finish, Mr. Chairman.
We have a
Let me
motion,
finish.
we're discussing the
Chairman.
yes.
I believe they're going to look at this resolution and say, hey, the Charter Review Board hasn't moved, the Board of County Commission hasn't moved. And so I think it would give them an opening to move and send something to Tallahassee, because we have not addressed the issue. So I'm in favor of postponing, but let's make a great right decision related to this issue once and for all for the citizens of Hillsborough County.
Mr. Taylor, we're talking about a motion to postpone this item to next month's meeting?
Yep, no issue. I was just going to say, just in terms of scheduling, we are running into the buzzsaw of holidays.
Sure.
And then session starts early for those of us that have to go up there to earn a living. That's middle of January. So just point being, like, obviously, if we agree on a certain matter, maybe that's the time where we start to throw in, maybe not wait a month for public hearings, maybe look at, a week or 2 weeks later. So just having people that have that on your radar, because I'm sure, I don't want to drag this on, but I also want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence, but we do have the holidays and.
And keep in mind that the next meeting is a week earlier than normal because of Veterans Day.
Oh, that's right. Good point. Yeah, I saw that.
So maybe
Yes.
we can bring our calendars and try to figure out some additional dates?
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, I would hope everybody's open every meeting to consider additional dates. Okay, so the motion on the floor is to delay the item, the motion made earlier by Mrs. Snively to go to a 9-member Board of County Commissioners using single-member districts. So that motion, the motion on the floor is to delay that motion to consideration next month. And we have a motion and a second by Ms. Holt. A show of hands, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay, motion carries. Last thing I'll mention, what's the date of the Hillsborough delegation? Again, it's because
October 21st.
there's a bunch of political people here that probably want to be there now that they know that thing goes on. It's usually lasts 3 to 4 hours, doesn't it?
October
It's,
21st.
10 to 2 and the 21st,
October
October
21st, 10 a.m. at the T. Pepin Hospitality Center.
which is MLK, kind of on the east side of Hillsborough.
Yeah, 4121 North 50th Street.
So maybe I'll see some of you there, because it's actually very entertaining.
Yeah.
Any other business to come before the group? Any other business? Last one more time. Any other business? Meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much.